Hello everybody. Today I'd like to talk to you about siblings, children who've experienced early life trauma who live together as brothers and sisters. There are a few things that we perhaps need to consider first before moving forward with how do we work with this situation. And what we need to understand is that children who've experienced early life trauma recreate old relationships with new people. And so, although you may have children living together who are not blood relatives, quite frankly, the emphasis should not be whether or not they're blood relatives, but whether or not they are consider each other as siblings, or they've developed those bonds or those dynamics that we would see in a sibling relationship. So you may have different children from different biological parents who live with you who are not biologically related, but live together as brothers and sisters. Equally, if you have a foster child, maybe that child has moved in with you and you already have other children living there, perhaps birth children, maybe adopted children, other foster children. All of those children will live together as a sibling group. And they, as I say, they recreate those old dynamics with each other. Many of our adopted children, if you've got more than one adopted child, may not be physically related, but they're very much brothers and sisters. Speaking as somebody who spent much of my childhood in the care system, I can assure you that I have brothers and sisters, mostly sisters, who are from other mothers and misters. So one of the things that I feel is vitally important for us to think about is the fact that our children are egocentric. We know that when bad things happen to children, children blame themselves. So all toddlers are egocentric. It's all about self. And when you have developmental trauma, because a part of you is stuck in that very young part of self because of all your unmet developmental needs, there's a part of you that's stuck in that egocentric state. Which is why many of our children may be considered to have autistic tendencies, etc., or they haven't developed empathy, or they just seem to be concerned with self. Much of this can be attributed to developmental trauma. And so when their parents have another child, so say for example you've got a child in foster care or a child who's been adopted, and they find out that the birth parents had another child, your child will feel that they've been replaced. And this isn't about jealousy in the sense that, oh, it's not fair, I wish it was me. It's more about, I wasn't good enough, so they had another one to replace me. Now, I am the eldest of 6, sadly only 5 of us now. And I want you to know, every time my mum had another baby, I used to think, well, she's tried again to see if she got the right one this time. And I used to think, when I look at my siblings, I hate me more. And I want us to think a bit more about that statement I've just made there. I don't feel that way about my siblings anymore, by the way. But when you are a child with developmental trauma and you've been neglected, you believe the reason my parent wasn't able to be the parent I needed them to be because I wasn't the child they needed me to be. And so if we think about securely attached brothers and sisters, when mum has another baby, there can be a bit of natural jealousy, and it takes time to navigate the situation and become accustomed to having another child living alongside you. But mostly things rub along okay and you get there in the end. When you're a child with developmental trauma and another baby is born, your survival is threatened because there's less of everything to go round now. And not only is there less of everything to go around, mostly your parents, you have to share everything you have with them. And again, and this is the biggest thing of all, you really believe you've been replaced. They had to try again because you weren't good enough. And I just want us to sit with that thought for a moment, how hard that is for a child. So often, and particularly in foster care, when a sibling group are placed in a foster home, we find there are lots of problems that can occur where one child will appear to be well behaved, settling in nicely, doing as they're told, and the other one is a bit of a nightmare. And then there's this narrative that begins that says the one who's causing the problems is not allowing the other one to thrive. And the one who is well behaved is settling in well, and we think they should be separated. Let's do a together and apart assessment. Now, I'm trying not to get angry because I want my videos to be professional and not Sarah Dillon screaming and shouting. But I want you to know I feel angry. I really do. Because most of the together and apart assessments are really not worth the paper they're written on. And that's a big thing for me to say. And you might think it's an assumption. No, 22 years I've been doing this job, and I can assure you the amount of siblings who've been separated who should never have been. I've already lost my home, my mum and dad, my smelly dog, my pissy bed, my filthy house, my school, the one or two friends that I have. I've lost all of that. And now you want to take away my brothers and sisters as well. Yeah, let's do that, shall we? Now, before I say anything else, I absolutely am not against children being separated if that really is in their best interest. But 99% of the time, that's not the case. So if anybody wants to put in the comments, well, my siblings had to be separated because of A, B, C, and D, there is nothing you can tell me that I don't already know about why siblings are split. I consider myself an expert in helping siblings to stay together, particularly in foster care. So I do know all the reasons, and I have been involved sometimes in making decisions around separating siblings, particularly when there is horrific sexual activity, sexualized behaviours between the children that we can't get to grips with, or we can't help to reduce or remove. Sometimes the levels of violence are so severe that there hasn't been another option other than to separate the children. But I'm talking about severe violence here, because even though there can be a lot of violence between siblings, we do know in our fostering agencies, True Fostering England, Safer Fostering Wales, how to keep sibling groups together. So yeah, I know why they're split, and sometimes it needs to happen, but it happens too often. And often it happens because people don't know what to do. So we don't know how to deal with it. We don't have to sort the problem out. It feels too big. It's sucking up too many resources, costing us too much money. It makes more sense to separate them and put them in different foster homes. Wow. Wow. Really. And yet our children have a right to their relationships with each other. They have a right. You know, when I listen to people say they've got sibling contact, I want to pull my hair out. What the heck does that mean? Do you mean I'm seeing my brother, I'm seeing my sister tomorrow? You know, let's help our children to just feel like children rather than constantly making them feel different all the time. So yeah, we know that they have these big, terrible situation that occurs between the children because they have a trauma bond. They have bonded through trauma in a traumatic environment where everybody had to vie for parental attention to get their needs met. So now you might think, well, what can we do about this situation? It's all right saying we should keep them together as much as we possibly can. How do we do that? Well, first of all, I believe that if you are a foster parent, you should have far more of a voice when the together and apart assessment is completed, so that you know you can give a clear picture of what really happens in your home, rather than decisions being made because a professional has seen the children a few times and how they think they interact together is how they base their decisions. Now, before anybody jumps on me, I know that it's more involved than that. But we don't have time to go into all the ins and outs of a together and apart assessment. The most important thing we need to remember is the assessment is to decide whether to keep the children together or to separate them. And quite frankly, a decision to separate is made far too often. So in our book, mine and Sarah Nash's book, The Quick Guide to Therapeutic Parenting, it's an excellent book because it's a visual introduction into therapeutic parenting. And what it does, I believe, very, very well, it uses all mine and Sarah's metaphors in helping to bring together what we're trying to communicate in a really easy to understand way. So on page 155, I've written about sibling rivalry. I am going to read it to you, but I highly recommend you get the book and have a look at it for yourself. So, I wish the children would stop vying for my attention all of the time and arguing over the most trivial things. They are acting like toddlers. They can't even share and are meant to be siblings, for goodness sake. And here we've got a picture of the children having an argument and Mum saying, share nicely, please. Mum, he won't let me have my car. Get off me. Jenny is very anxious as Mum cuts a lovely homemade pie into pieces. One slice for each of the 5 children. Jenny shouts at Mum, demanding to have the biggest piece. She won't leave her side, not even for a moment. She is terrified that the others will get more pie than her, or that she won't get any pie at all. No matter how often Mum tries to reassure her that everyone gets an equal slice of the pie in this house, Jenny just won't listen. Mum desperately needs to use the toilet, and even though she's gone for just a few minutes, a fight ensues. Mum hears all the screaming and shouting and returns to find the children fighting over the pie. Jenny started the fight this time, but Mum doesn't realise this as Jenny is telling off all the other children for fighting. Sadly, the pie is now just a big mess on the floor and the children begin to blame each other. Mum is very cross and storms out of the room, stating that no one will get any pie if they don't start behaving properly and stop fighting. Jenny follows Mum into the kitchen and says sorry in a very matter-of-fact way. Mum thanks Jenny for trying to stop the fight and offers her a small individual pie she made earlier for Jenny to eat on her own after the others have gone to bed. All the children have to make do with oven chips and chicken nuggets. That's okay as they're quite accustomed to such foods, but they're just a bit sad that it's not the pie. Jenny makes sure that the other children know that she's had a pie all to herself after they've gone to bed. She doesn't tell them until the next morning. Unfortunately, this starts yet another fight, and another throughout the day. Well, what if we swap the pie for parental interaction and engagement? What if that's what the children are really fighting for? Siblings who have experienced trauma will recreate relationship dynamics which enable them to survive in an environment where they were often overlooked. Their needs remain unmet. The children vie for your attention so they are not forgotten. They must be the best, the loudest, the strongest, and the most favoured one. That will help them stay alive for sure. It's the only way they know. And so I say, children will vie for the pie, as without pie, they die. PIE is an acronym for parental interaction and engagement. So if everything you needed as a child, all your developmental needs, all the stuff that families do, everything you need as a child was all collected and put into a big pie called the family pie. That's what you need as a child. When you don't get the full pie, like myself, I got a slither of pie. I do believe I was loved. And as the first child, I think I got more than the others because there was more to go around for me. And I had a lot more involvement from grandmother. So when you get that slither of pie, in that slither of pie were food and shelter, some love and attention, particularly from grandmother, and certainly know that my mother tried. And, maybe a bit more interaction from professionals. That's about it, really. All the other stuff that we need, routine, structure, boundaries, regular feeding, someone getting up in the night, developing object permanence, all of that stuff, not there. And so when my siblings were born, we would vie for the pie because everybody intrinsically knew that there wasn't enough to go around. So we would all be in this state of constant battle, trying to get our needs met, trying to stay seen. And so I say, without pie, our children feel that they will die. So it is a fight for survival. That's the trauma bond. That's the bit that we need to remember and we need to hold on to. So what I say to families who are caring for sibling groups is to create a visual representation of the pie, and not with all the stuff that we need in it, but all the stuff we like to do as a family, all the things that are important to us. And let the children know, I think you're worried, there's not enough of me to go around all of you. So I want you to know that you're all going to have a bit of pie time. And make a pie chart, and on there, you know, put a slither for everybody, including the dog, including your partner, other children, and other important people who you see regularly. So the children can see everybody gets a fair share of me or us. Equally, what can be really good is to have a heart, a visual of a heart. If there are two of you, two hearts, and and in the heart, show that, you know, where the two hearts join. If it's just one heart, that's fine too. But you know, two hearts, they beat as one. Sorry, I just thought I'd pop that in there for you. But is it where the two hearts join, to write the names of all the children there. So that they can see, wow, you live in our heart, not just our home. And when they start to vie for the pie, you can say, remember, you know, I've got enough love for all of you. Let's look at the picture. It's going to be your pie time soon. Let's remember. Now, if you think, well, there's no way that one's going to let me spend time with that one, that's why it's far better if there are two of you to manage this. But if not, if somebody steals somebody else's pie time, then you're going to have to get a bit of that time back. Probably not all of it, but a bit of it. I want you to know this works. I could have foster parents on here if it weren't for confidentiality, and adoptive parents who will tell you that this works. We have kept children together who otherwise would have been separated. Some of the worst cases I've ever seen of violence between sibling groups where we've managed to keep them together using this approach. Lots of trauma-informed narratives where we are saying to the child, sometimes I think you're worried that I've forgotten about you. Sometimes I think you're worried that I prefer your sister more than you. I love you both the same. I've got enough love in my heart for both of you. Remember, you've got your pie time coming later. And over time, this does get easier. You must have a routine in your home that nobody is allowed to adapt, alter, change. You have to have a visual timetable, particularly with siblings, so they always see what's coming next. Children from trauma do not hear what you say. They see what you say. Their eyes kept them alive. They download images as memories so that they can stay safe. So we use images. They need to see what is coming next. So they know, I don't have to vie for the pie because my needs will be met. Now, if you leave the room and there's a great big punch up that happens, what can be really helpful is for you to remember that the vast majority of our children do not have a well-developed sense of object permanence, which is the knowledge that you still exist even though they can't see you. Object permanence typically starts to develop between the ages of 4 to 7 months in a securely attached child, where they know that although I can't see my parent, they still exist. Because of neglect, your child will not have that. And if your child has had numerous ruptured attachments, maybe they're adopted and they've been moved and moved again before coming home to you, they are going to have issues around object permanence. And so it's very important that you let the child know, I've not forgotten you even though I leave the room. Get one of them busy, take one of them with you. Get one of them to go and do you a little job, like, could you just go and pick up some leaves in the garden for me, darling, whilst I go to the loo? Because I promise you, they will find a way to get you back in the room. And the best way to get you back in the room is to have a punch up, which we want to avoid. So when you come back in the room, oh my goodness, I think you thought I'd forgotten you. Let them hear you singing or talking or whatever you're doing. Make a noise so that they know that you are still there. That will help the object permanence. Last but not least, if you didn't see it, you don't know. You can't see through walls. Now, if you come back in the room and one of them says, oh, so-and-so just punched me, you know, I've got a black eye, I've just been kicked in the face or whatever. If you didn't see it, you don't know. Because I want to tell you very quickly before I finish a little story about a 12-year-old boy who said that his brother had punched him. His brother was slightly older. Foster mum's come back in the room screaming and shouting at the one who she thought had done the punching. And her 17-year-old birth son said, up, mum. He was in the conservatory and he'd been looking through the doors and had seen that the 12-year-old punched himself in the eye. Punched himself in the eye. So, you know, if you don't see it, you don't know it. Remember, you may have that hand grenade child that deliberately wants to cause chaos because they can't cope with the calm, I want the storm to get the calm out of the way, because remember, the calm comes before the storm. Let's throw a hand grenade in. And that can be something like saying, we're having your worst dinner tonight. So that child now will turn around and punch the one who says it, and they're the one getting in trouble. But the one who threw the hand grenade by saying that is the one who actually started it all off. But that doesn't really matter so much. What matters more than anything is that these children have found a way to survive and to get their needs met. So if you'd like to know more about siblings, do have a look at our website, coect.co.uk, Centre of Excellence in Child Trauma. Thanks for listening.